For many of us, $3 is a morning coffee. It's an afterthought. But for nearly 800 million people right now, that exact same amount is their entire daily budget to secure food, water, and shelter. To understand how money actually dictates human existence, we have to look at the 10 levels of wealth. As you climb this ladder, capital transitions from a tool for immediate survival into a force that moves markets and dictates social structures. Level 1 is extreme poverty. It operates like a video game, permanently locked in hardcore mode, with no save points and an empty health bar. 100% of human energy here is spent securing enough calories simply to reach tomorrow morning. Climbing to level 2 doubles that income, placing you in standard poverty. The immediate threat of starvation recedes, but you live entirely exposed. Because there is zero financial buffer, a single 3-day flu that prevents you from working instantly plunges your family straight back into level 1. At these bottom tiers, money provides absolutely zero forward momentum. It buys no future. It serves strictly as a daily, exhausting shield to keep you from dying. Step up to level 3, the working poor. Here, you enter the modern economy. You are scrubbing fryers at a late-night fast food joint or stacking pallets in a massive seasonal logistics center. You have access to smartphones and streaming services, but paying for them requires relentless mental math. Every single week is a rigid calculation. If you pay the electric bill on Tuesday, you have to cut the grocery budget on Thursday. Because living expenses consume nearly every cent of incoming cash flow, long-term planning is mathematically impossible. A macroeconomic shift of even a fraction of a percent immediately drains whatever tiny surplus exists. If the local utility rate spikes by $20 during a winter cold snap, the math breaks. You are physically participating in modern society, but you are entirely locked out of its progress. Level 3 offers the visual illusion of modern participation. In reality, the mechanics of this tier keep individuals trapped in a permanent, exhausting cycle of financial arithmetic without yielding any actual autonomy. Level 4 is the middle class. The daily financial panic finally dissolves. Your home is properly heated, your fridge is full without a second thought, and you can reliably plot out a modest annual vacation. This tier is the engine of the modern state. They pay the bulk of the taxes, fund the school systems, and keep consumer markets turning. They have the psychological freedom to plan their week without fearing an unexpected flat tire will ruin their lives. But look beneath the floorboards. Their stability relies heavily on a complex system of wealth redistribution. Without subsidized public infrastructure, collective health insurance, and social safety nets, a massive portion of this bracket would immediately plummet backward. Then we reach level 5, the upper middle class. Senior engineers, specialized doctors, successful directors. The consumption here is premium. The cars don't break down, the tech is always current, and the restaurant bills are paid without a glance. Yet a critical vulnerability remains. The entirety of this high-end simulation is hardwired to a paycheck. If an illness or a corporate restructuring suddenly eliminates that job, the premium lifestyle rapidly disintegrates. Despite the massive gap in comfort, levels 1 through 5 operate on the exact same underlying mechanic, trading limited human time for wages. They have successfully purchased extreme comfort, but they have not purchased independence. Crossing into level 6, the affluent tier, means hitting an invisible wall where the rules reverse. Daily expenses vanish into a unified, stress-free routine that runs entirely in the background. At this exact threshold, wealth stops being about the consumption of premium goods. It becomes the practice of immobilizing capital into assets that generate their own independent returns. This chart shows exactly where that break happens. While physical labor is strictly capped by hours in a day, capital placed in real estate, index funds, and equity begins producing revenue entirely independent of human sweat. Level 7 scales this up to the very affluent. Having one primary residence is replaced by accumulating multiple properties across different cities. Investment portfolios become dense and heavy with private equity and startup capital. At this stage, the function of debt completely inverts. It ceases to be a crushing personal burden used to cover shortfalls. Instead, it acts as a strategic, highly engineered lever to acquire even more compounding assets. This transition turns your net worth into an autonomous engine, expanding your wealth through compounding returns while you sleep. Enter a bank at level 8 and the manager will clear their schedule to greet you. You are officially a high net worth individual, or HNWI. You hold millions in active assets, and reliance on a traditional salary is permanently eliminated. Wealth at this stage is a methodical institution. You rely on an entire ecosystem of financial professionals, analysts, and enterprise structures whose sole daily objective is to continuously compound your capital. Push that to level 9, the multimillionaires. With 20, 30, or 50 million in play, the central financial dilemma of your life changes. You no longer ask, "Can I afford this?" You ask, where is the most efficient place to park this massive influx of excess cash? This excess capital physically alters reality for the tiers below. When multimillionaires collectively park their money in specific urban real estate, they artificially inflate property values, entirely pricing out the middle-class workers who actually keep those neighborhoods running. They have successfully purchased absolute freedom from terrestrial limits. At this height, the only resource they cannot easily acquire with a wire transfer is time. Finally, we reach the apex. Level 10, the billionaires. The multi-story superyachts and custom private fleets establish a massive physical footprint. However, the most significant impact of this wealth exists in the invisible influence it exerts over global systems. At level 10, wealth dictates macroeconomic directions. It influences international laws, redrew tax codes, and shapes the industrial trajectory of entire continents. This chart shows the historical asymmetry of that power. Since 1980, the infinite asset loops utilized by the top 1% have captured the vast majority of global economic growth, while the bottom 50% has effectively flatlined. This peak level provides the influence to design the economic environment that the rest of the world must navigate. Understanding how these invisible tiers operate is the only way to navigate them effectively. Subscribe to the channel to keep pulling back the curtain on how the systems around you actually work.